We imagine kings dying on battlefields or surrounded by gold, but history has a cruel sense of irony. From a king who died because of a pig in the street to a ruler killed by his own massive feast, today, Zorivox Chronicles uncovers the most humiliating, brutal, and bizarre ends of the world's most powerful leaders. You won't believe how number one met his end, the most brutal, accidental deaths of kings.
Sigurd the Mighty, killed by a smile. They called him invincible. In 892 AD, the Viking world feared one name, Sigurd Eysteinsson, Earl of Orkney, a warlord who believed death would never dare touch him. His enemy was Bricte, a ruthless Scottish chieftain known by one cruel nickname, the Buck-Toothed. When their armies finally collided, the battle was savage. Steel screamed, blood soaked the earth, and when the dust settled, Sigurd stood victorious. Bricte was dead. But Sigurd wanted more than victory. He wanted humiliation. So he did something unforgivable. He cut off Bricte's head and tied it to his saddle like a trophy. As Sigurd rode home, proud and laughing, the severed head bounced beside his leg. With every step of the horse, those protruding teeth scraped his skin. Just a scratch, barely noticeable. Sigurd ignored it. After all, what was a scratch to a man who survived 100 battles? But days later, the wound darkened, the flesh swelled, then rotted. The smell came next, gangrene. The mighty Viking weakened by the hour. The man who feared no blade was now powerless. No sword could help him, no shield could save him. And within days, Sigurd the Mighty was dead. Not killed by strategy, not slain by steel, but destroyed by the rotting smile of a man he thought he had conquered. A legend ended by arrogance. History teaches us this lesson again and again. Pride kills faster than enemies. Because here, we don't just tell history, we expose how legends fall.
Prince Philip of France, the pig that changed a dynasty. History didn't kill him. Chance did. It was 1131, in the crowded, noisy streets of Paris. Markets were alive, people shouted, animals roamed freely. At the center of it all rode Prince Philip of France, young, confident, and already co-king of the most powerful kingdom in Europe. This was no battlefield, no assassin waited in the shadows, just a casual ride. Then, from a filthy dung heap beside the road, a black pig suddenly bolted. No warning, no time to react. The animal charged straight between the legs of Philip's horse. The horse panicked, it stumbled, reared, and in a single violent motion, threw the prince head first onto the stone street. The impact was brutal. Bones shattered. His body went still. Philip was carried away, broken and unconscious. By the next day, the future king of France was dead. No war, no rebellion, just a pig. And yet, the consequences were enormous. With Philip gone, the crown passed to his younger brother, Louis VII, a king whose reign would be defined by crusades, by bloody rivalry with England, and by conflicts that reshaped medieval Europe. One random animal, one misstep, and the destiny of an entire nation changed forever. History isn't always written by generals. Sometimes it's written by accidents, because here, even the smallest events can destroy empires.
William the Conqueror,
The exploding emperor. He conquered kingdoms, but he couldn't conquer decay. William the Conqueror was a giant of history, the man who crossed the Channel, crushed the English crown, and forged a dynasty that still echoes today. Kings feared him, nations bent to him, but power has a weakness. In his later years, William grew enormously obese, his body swollen, his movements heavy. Still, he insisted on riding into battle, still believing himself untouchable. Then came the fall. During a campaign, William suffered a brutal riding accident. The impact crushed his insides. The pain never left. Slowly, the conqueror began to rot from within. When he finally died, his body was grotesquely bloated, swollen by internal decay and trapped gases. Yet the monks pressed on with the burial, preparing a grand stone sarcophagus worthy of a legend. There was just one problem. The coffin was too small. As the monks tried to force the body inside, pushing, straining, ignoring the warning signs, William's abdomen burst. A violent rupture. The cathedral filled instantly with a putrid stench, so overpowering that mourners fled in terror and disgust. The man who once ruled England was reduced to a scene people could not bear to witness. No applause, no triumph, just decay. History loves victory, but it never spares the victorious. Because here, even conquerors don't escape the end.
Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the price of immortality. He ruled everything, except death. Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor of a unified China, a man powerful enough to reshape a civilization. He built the foundations of the Great Wall. He commanded the creation of the Terracotta Army, thousands of soldiers meant to guard him in the afterlife. Yet despite all that power, he lived in fear of dying. The emperor became obsessed with a single idea: immortality. He summoned his court alchemists and ordered them to find an elixir that could make him live forever. They promised miracles, they whispered of magic, and they gave him pills made primarily of mercury. To them, mercury was sacred, shimmering, mysterious, eternal. To the emperor, it was hope. So he swallowed them, day after day, year after year, believing each dose brought him closer to godhood. But the poison worked silently. His mind began to unravel. Paranoia consumed him. He trusted no one. He feared betrayal in every shadow. The emperor who united China was now trapped inside his own madness. And in the end, Qin Shi Huang did not ascend to immortality. He died, poisoned, confused, delusional, and in agony, killed by the very elixir meant to save him. The cruelest irony of all, in trying to escape death, he walked straight into it. History proves one truth: the harder you chase immortality, the faster it runs away. Because here, power doesn't protect you from fate. Adolf Frederick of Sweden, the king who ate himself to death. Some kings die in battle, others die at the table. In 1771, Sweden was ruled by King Adolf Frederick, a man remembered not for war, not for conquest, but for appetite. It was Shrove Tuesday, a day known for indulgence before fasting, and the king indulged. He began with lobster, then caviar, followed by sauerkraut and smoked herring, all of it drowned in champagne. Any normal man would have stopped, but Adolf Frederick wasn't finished. There was one thing he loved above all else: semla, sweet rolls stuffed with marzipan and cream, rich, heavy, deadly in excess. He ate one, then another, 14 servings, 14. By the end of the feast, the king could barely move. His body was overwhelmed. His digestive system collapsed under the strain. That night, the King of Sweden died, not from poison, not from betrayal, but from gluttony. History gave him a title no crown could erase: the king who ate himself to death. A throne couldn't save him. A crown couldn't stop his hunger. History reminds us excess can be just as deadly as enemies, because here, even kings fall to their own desires.
They say laughter is the best medicine. For King Martin of Aragon, it was fatal. The year was 1410. King Martin sat heavy and uncomfortable, already suffering from severe indigestion. Why? Because earlier that day, the king had eaten an entire goose. His stomach burned, his chest ached. This was not a man in the mood for jokes. Then his court jester Bora burst into the chamber. Ignoring the king's condition, Bora launched into a story. He described a young deer hanging helplessly by its tail from a tree, as if it were being punished for stealing figs. The image was absurd, ridiculous, perfectly stupid. And suddenly, King Martin laughed. At first, it was a chuckle, then a gasp, then uncontrollable laughter. His body shook, his breathing collapsed, the laughter wouldn't stop. And then his heart did, right there on the spot. The King of Aragon was dead. Not from war, not from poison, but from a joke told at the worst possible moment, mixed with a full stomach and a failing heart. A ruler undone by laughter itself. History proves one thing: even joy can kill if fate decides it's time. Because here, the end is never dignified. Emperor Valerian, the human footstool. Even emperors can fall, and sometimes in the most humiliating ways imaginable. The year was 260 A.D. Rome trembled under the threat of the Persian Empire. At its helm stood Emperor Valerian, a man of power, of wealth, of unquestioned authority. But fate is merciless. Valerian was captured alive by King Shapur I of Persia, a Roman emperor taken like a common prisoner. For years, Valerian endured unceasing humiliation. He was forced to serve as Shapur's personal footstool, kneeling under the weight of a conqueror's heel. Every step a reminder that even the mighty can fall. And death did not free him. When Valerian finally died in captivity, the Persians did not bury him with dignity. Legend tells us they flayed his body, dyed his skin red, stuffed it with straw, and displayed him in a temple for centuries, a grotesque, permanent trophy. A Roman emperor reduced to a walking effigy of defeat. Power, glory, empire, all meaningless in the face of fate's cruelty. Because here, even kings and emperors fall, and sometimes they fall spectacularly. History reminds us, no one is untouchable. From the bite of a dead man's tooth to the sheer force of laughter, these are the unceremonious, often bizarre ways in which absolute power can meet its end.
They serve as a stark reminder, even kings are but mortals, subject to the random, often cruel whims of fate. The chronicles of power are often written in blood, but sometimes they're simply written in absurdity. Which of these royal misfortunes surprised you the most? Or do you know of another ruler who met an equally bizarre end? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you seek to uncover more of history's darker truths, then join the chronicler. Subscribe to Zorivox Chronicles. Until next time, keep questioning and keep digging.